If you're currently looking for someone to capture your wedding or elopement on a Super 8 camera, this is for you. So my name is Jason and I've been working with cameras for over 10 years now, and specifically shooting weddings and elopements on Super 8 cameras. And finding someone to capture your wedding or elopement is already tough as it is, but adding a camera from the 1970s makes it a bit more trickier. So in today's video, I'm gonna go over some tips and some things to consider before you even start looking. And number one is that these cameras actually cannot capture audio. If the person that you hire is only going to bring their Super 8 camera and the vowels is something that you want to capture, then you probably would even want to reconsider it. But most people that capture weddings and elopements on Super 8 cameras do have the ability to bring external audio or maybe another digital camera to capture the vowels on that. But it's something that you want to talk to the person that you actually are going to hire if that's something that they offer. And if they do offer it, they might either give it to you for free or it's something that you have to pay extra for. So it's something to discuss with the person that you hire. Number two is do not just hire someone to capture your wedding and elopement on a Super 8 camera just because it's a trend. If you're not absolutely obsessed with the look of what this camera actually produces, then you probably want to lean towards actually getting it on digital, because even though it might be trendy right now, it doesn't necessarily mean that in 5 to 10 years that it's still gonna have that hype, and realistically you might look back to it and regret it. But of course, if you're absolutely obsessed with the actual look of the camera and the feeling that you get from it, then I encourage it 100%. Like for me, when the day comes that I actually get married, I 100% want to get it on Super 8, and there's no way I'm gonna regret it later because I just love it so much. But if you want it to be primarily Super 8 and no digital at your wedding, then you really want to make sure that it's just something that you're obsessed with. Number three is the Super 8 camera good for actual big weddings, or is it good just for like smaller elopements and micro weddings? And that's a very valid question, but realistically it doesn't really matter because the videographer will be there with you the entire day capturing it on Super 8, even if it's a 10-hour day. What really just happens is that they're a lot more intentional about every single moment that they're capturing. So when a digital cameraman is basically just spraying and praying and they kind of sit on moments for like 30 minutes, sometimes set it up on a tripod, it's not really possible with Super 8 unless you're trying to spend tens and thousands of dollars just on film itself, but it's just not as realistic. But the Super 8 videographers know to basically capture all the most important things and not to be too picky when it comes to actually capturing moments, because a lot of the small moments are really what makes someone's day feel very memorable when they look back at it. So don't think about it like having less moments captured and then you just like are not really getting to see the full day. It's more of having a lot less that you can actually appreciate. So one thing I like to compare it to is like the iPhone camera roll. Like a lot of the times you have a bunch of photos in there, and honestly they don't give you the exact feeling that you get from something that's a little bit more nostalgic, like an old photo or something like that, where you have a lot less of it, but you can really appreciate the whole thing as an entirety. So that's kind of how I think about it when you think about Super 8 coverage. You want to think of it like when you're getting your actual maybe getting ready footage, there's only like 5 to 6 shots, different angles, different moments, and that gives you the full picture of what it felt like, instead of making it this like super long thing and getting dragged out that it almost feels not as special. So in my opinion, they're just as good for elopements as they are weddings. Number four is, can these cameras actually capture great footage at nighttime? And it's something that I get asked so much, and a lot of people don't give Super 8 enough credit for how good they actually are at nighttime. They do an absolutely great job. So if you think about something like the first dance, where a lot of the times it's the nighttime and it's a lot more dimmed light, I capture these first dances a lot, and they're one of my favorite things to capture because of the look that actually Super 8 kind of gives that moment. And you can see on this footage right here that all of it looks amazing, even if it's a little bit slightly dark. A lot of the time something I like to do is bring a small little light with me, and then I just kind of light up scenes when they make sense to. But realistically, I'm normally just shooting completely with the camera just like that, and you just got to make sure that the person that you hire knows what film stocks to use, so you can ask them questions like that if that's something that concerns you. Number five is, how long of a video do you normally get when you hire someone for Super 8? So when it comes to like a wedding, you're probably necessarily going to be looking at a 5 to 8 minute video is probably the most standard, even when it's about a 10-hour coverage. Again, minimizing which amount of clips that we put into a video. That's pretty standard. Some people do less, some people do more, but that's kind of what you're looking at when you hire someone for like a long wedding, like anything between 6 hours to 10 hours. And when it comes to elopements, you're probably looking more towards about a minute to 3 minutes worth worth of an actual final video, and typically that's about an hour or two of coverage. Of course, some people that shoot on Super 8 will do more, or maybe if you ask, they could make a longer video, but it's something to ask them as well. Number 6 is, do you pick your own song when it comes to the actual video? That's something I get asked a lot as well, and honestly, it can go either way. You can either request a song that you really like or something that's super special to you and your partner, and they will instantly put it into the video, and they'll probably be very happy that you have a song suggestion. And realistically, even if you feel like it might not go with the actual day or the experience of the video, you'd be surprised the magic of editing. Anything can really look cool. So if it's a song that you really like and it really means a lot to you and your partner, I suggest you give them a song recommendation and they can work off that. But of course, there are some videographers that are like really against actually getting any recommendations, and they treat their videos completely as art, and they do not actually take any recommendations and they do it for you. So that's definitely something that you want to ask. On the other hand, if maybe you don't really have a song that really means a lot to you, most videographers will be glad to pick a song for you that kind of matches your guys' vibe and matches the vibe of the day. So either way, if you have a song recommendation, they'll do it for you. If you need some help from the professional, then they will actually assist you with that as well. Number 7 is something that most people don't really think about, but Super 8s can actually be kind of loud. So when you think about your actual ceremony, you are definitely going to hear the shutter in the background, like the typical sound that you would expect an old camera to sound like you're gonna hear that in the background. And some Super 8s are actually louder than others, so it's something to ask your videographer if they have a camera that's a little bit louder, or if that's just something that you don't really care about, then it's honestly not that bad. Realistically, they're not too distracting. Of course, like, your guests might look back the first time they hear it, but after about the 3rd time that the videographer gets a shot, they're already kind of used to it, and it feels just the same as like when the photographer is taking photos. You can hear the actual click. It almost just becomes part of the actual experience. What I would suggest, if that's something that you are concerned about, ask them specifically what cameras they use, because one of the cameras that I use primarily is actually one of the quietest Super 8 cameras that you can possibly get, so it's not as distracting as some other cameras can be. Number 8 is backups. Look, we're literally using cameras from the 1970s and 1980s, so a lot of upfront intentionality when it comes to making sure that everything is properly working on your camera goes a long way, and it's something that you have to make sure that your person that you hire is making sure that they're doing. I have shot many different weddings and elopements on these cameras, and I still have yet to run into any issue. But one thing that I like to do myself is I bring a digital camera with me, and I just kind of get backup footage just in case, because like I said, I never ran into the issue, but I want to be ready that if something ever does happen, I at least have footage that I can get. Another thing is that I always bring a different camera with me as a secondary backup, just in case there's some sort of malfunction. So bringing another Super 8 camera is something that I definitely do all the time, and it's something I do recommend other videographers do, so it's something that you want to ask as well. Number 9 is, how long does it typically take to get your video back? And most people probably are around 3 to 5 weeks is probably typical to get your video back. Of course, some people are a lot longer and some people are a lot shorter, so it's something to ask before you even hire them, because if it's gonna take about 6 to 8 months to get your video back, it feels a little bit like a letdown. Of course, this is completely shot on film, so a lot of the times these videographers have to send out the film to a laboratory. Like myself, I send it out of state, and then it takes about 5 to 7 days to get my film back in a digital format. So of course, the cameraman doesn't actually have access to the video until about a week and a half to even begin with, and then from there they go into actually editing it. But I would say about 3 to 5 weeks is probably what you want to be aiming for. So number 11 is pricing. How much does it actually cost to hire someone to capture your wedding or elopement on a Super 8 camera? And I'll just kind of go over my actual pricing to kind of give you an idea of what it costs for someone with this experience and this quality video. It's around the ballpark of most people. So for our 1 hour coverage of an elopement here in Las Vegas, we charge $900 for that 1 hour, and you're probably getting about a 1.5 minute video at the minimum. So that gives you kind of a perspective of how much you're probably going to be charged. coverage for around that. And at the complete opposite of that, our most actual coverage that we offer is 10 hours, and that is $4,600 for 10 hours of Super 8 coverage. And that final video is probably around 5 to 7 minutes. So of course, this is just a gauge and what we charge specifically, but that gives you kind of an understanding of what you're even getting into. Because of course, there's a lot of money that actually goes into the film itself. You could probably think about it, probably cost your cameraman about $1 per second that they actually capture in the field. And of course, they're not just getting 5 minutes worth of footage. Even if they deliver a 5-minute video, it's probably around 15 minutes worth of footage, and then it all gets condensed. And of course, that's just the actual price of the film, not including the actual work and just basically paying for their art. All right, so that's about it for today's video. We went over a few things that can probably really help you at least get started to even start looking for someone to capture your wedding or elopement on Super 8 cameras. And if you do have any other questions, feel free to just drop them down below or even DM us on Instagram. Here's our Instagram here, and I'll be happy to help you. In the link of the description, we have all our actual packages. We actually do offer photography as well, and we do 35mm, which really pairs well with Super 8 video. So if you want to look at more of our products, just look down below in the link of the description, and I'll send you over to our website. Thank you so much for your time, and see you guys soon.